All right. Okay, here we go. Day 2. All right. I'm going to put that down for now. I don't want to encourage that. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our updated storm coverage, Day 2. Okay. How are we doing? Good. Cheers. Testing 1, 2. How's that looking there, Matt, on your end? Beautiful. Okay. The chat's really big. This is like, can we widen out the camera shot maybe a little bit? I think that might have been zoomed in a little bit too much. There we go. That's nice. Okay, cool. All right. That works for me. Thank you, buddy. Did we hit the record and all that stuff? Yeah, we're good to go. Nice. All right. Cheers, guys. Everybody's going to be entering the chat now. That's nice. Let's just stay in the chat for the next minute or so. Dan from the top of Lake Superior. Okay. Wow. So you know cold. Phillips in the house. Patrick, reporting from South Florida. It's hot. We don't want to hear about that. First of all, I like to be in Florida this time of year, and I can't be, so I'm already jealous. Let's just be careful. Chocolate's in the house. Can't stay. Got a migraine. Oh, that's too bad. Thanks, Chocolate. Appreciate your love. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out, and go take care of yourself, huh? Migraines are no fun. Wow. Okay. Oh, cheers from Chicago. Yeah, you know what? Chicago is not even fair because they're getting so much coverage down in Texas to forget that you guys are freaking cold right now, right? Man, oh man. That's a little abnormal. Anyway, curious to know if you got any issues going on with the cold over there causing you guys problems. Because it might be too cold even for your construction technology to handle. Wouldn't be surprised if you had a few busted mains and a few broken water lines in your neighborhood as well. What's this about? That's a great point. Let me just say, first of all, before we get started, so you guys know, we're going to do this every day for like the next week. And it might seem a little extreme, but here's why. I'll try to lay this out as best I can. And I'm going to probably do this once or twice or maybe 3 times through the video. I got no cheat sheets here tonight, all right? I got no script writer. I've got no teleprompter, okay? What I'm sharing tonight is just basic, good old-fashioned experience and wisdom, okay? What we've got today is kind of like the last day of the real cold going on in the southern United States. And what that means is, for most people, the power's been restored. They've realized if they're going to have major flooding in their house or not. And they might be under the illusion that the worst is over. But what I'm here to talk about is the truth behind the ugliness of what this disaster actually means, that for a lot of folks, the worst is yet to come. And I'm not trying to be sensational. I mean, this is not my Ron Burgundy live with the car chase moment. You know what I mean? What I'm trying to talk about is, and tonight what we're going to do is we're going to break down, if you were the only person in Texas who had a broken pipe and you call your insurance company, A, what does that look like? What does that mitigation and what does that process look like? And versus what is it going to look like because you're not alone? And there's thousands of people with that same phone call. And so my goal tonight is to help you manage your expectations about what the remediation process is going to look like. Okay, so that you're not disillusioned and frustrated and angry, because we don't need you angry. I mean, you're going through a difficult time enough. You don't want to let yourself go off. You know, I was talking to somebody today and I said, you know, before COVID came, my perception of the average Canadian family that I worked with was that they were way too stressed, right? 2 incomes, house, maintenance, dog, kids, dance class, baseball practice, Kumon math sessions, tutors and family vacations, and trying to be the perfect parent and the perfect family. everybody was left with this, if just one more thing happens in my life, I'm going to just go postal, right? That's life. Then COVID hit, and we all had to adjust real quickly about what we were going to consider was too much for us to handle so that we could dial down and stay civilized. Because if we didn't make adjustments, we would have just gone out and killed each other, right? That was frustrating and stressful. And now on top of that, you've got this situation going on. So really what you got to do is just say, okay, priorities, right? My family's safe. We got a roof over our head. And the weather's warming up. And we're going to be all right long term. Let's just start with that, right? We're going to make it through this. And I'm here to help in any way I can, but I can't rebuild your house, obviously. But what I can do is I can give you advice tonight to help you mitigate the degree that you're suffering loss, okay? And I've talked to different people, and let's start here. If we were to take this on a scale of 0 to 100, 0 meaning, well, that was cold and frustrating, and I couldn't take my dog out for a walk, but I had power, and I live in an area where we weren't that affected, versus the 100, which is we lost power, I had to move out, I would live with my mom for a few days. I came home to find out my house was flooded and the pipes burst and no one could turn off the water. And it's a complete write-off. There are a lot of people in different layers here, okay? And what's going to happen is when I'm talking to one person they're impacted at a 20-point level and one's at a 60 and one's at 100, there's going to be different situations and different ways to deal with it. So let's dive in tonight to understand the extent of the damage, what your process is going to look like, so that you can have a better understanding and expectation and know how to deal with it effectively, okay? Does that make any sense? So before we go any further, first of all, let's just, like thoughts and prayers to everybody down there, because some people were somewhat unscathed and some people are going through living hell, and it's going to get worse if you're one of those. And I'll tell you why in just a minute. First of all, cheers to everybody who is part of the disaster response team down there. Yeah, all the guys that are out there on the hydro lines and fixing things up and working to repair things and open up streets. And, like you're working hard and we love you for it. Cheers. All right. Now, like I said last night, and I mentioned I got a fair amount of experience in disaster restoration. I was part of a catastrophic loss, a major flooding system here in Ottawa. And I have no desire to start pointing fingers or laying blame or trying to understand why or how this happened. I think we're going to leave that up to Texans to sort out after we're past making sure everybody is safe and comfortable and we got the situation behind us. I'll let them worry about policy and government and all that other kind of stuff. I don't want to get into the trap of going, it could have been better or this never should have happened. The bottom line, there is nowhere in this world where we engineer things to handle every single weather event, okay? I know that in LA, you guys have that big aquifer there and you guys handle lots of rainfall, right? What happened in Ottawa, the major disaster I dealt with, was we got an LA rainstorm. In Ottawa, we don't have the ability to deal with that kind of water. And so our street sewer and our septic system is combined. And of course, that's connected to everybody's basement. So what happened is when we got too much water, it all ended up sewage in everybody's basement all over the city. Because we didn't have the engineering for the kind of weather that was related to, based on our geographical experience. So Texas is going through the same thing right now. They don't see this kind of weather. They weren't ready for it. They didn't build that way. They don't have code that way. They don't have the infrastructure, the snow plows, the technology, the understanding. And of course, at the end of the day, politically speaking, everybody's like, what's my exposure here, right? So you get the whole game going on. I get it. Now, we're going to talk tonight about real people in real trouble, and we're going to help you out, okay? So let's talk about, first of all, what would happen if you were the only person in Texas who had a pipe froze, okay? Sunshine and lollipops. My pipe burst. My ceiling is raining. Everything's falling down. Everything I own is destroyed. Best case scenario, what happens? And I'll just walk you through this. So you're going to have a restoration company. They're going to get a phone call from the insurance agent because the first thing you're going to do is contact your insurance and go, A, am I covered? And that's an important question to ask because I have yet to get a clear answer on that. And I was researching that today. Are you covered for this kind of scenario? Secondly, the insurance company would say, yes, no, or maybe, right? Depending on your coverage. If it's a yes, then they contact the restoration company and they send them out and they go, okay, guys, go take care of this client. And that company would generally have 4 employees, 2 different trucks full of equipment, tools, experience, and they show up. And the first thing they do is they'll turn off the water and they'll get a plumbing contractor out there to repair the break. The second thing they're going to do is they're going to mitigate. They're going to remove everything in the house that's soaking wet and destroyed, including all the drywall in the ceiling, drywall in the walls. If it's wet, they're going to remove all the insulation that's affected as well. And they're going to expose everything back to the frame, okay? Now, if a kitchen area, which is very common in a 2-story home, is soaking wet because the bathroom above it, if it's a solid wood kitchen, they're probably still going to have to remove the kitchen because in behind the walls are soaking wet. And they've got to get that drywall and insulation out because the biggest fear of these companies when they're in that situation is what happens if we don't get rid of all of the wet contents is that the mold that is in the wood that's built the house is going to migrate and to grow and start to spore, and it's going to go black and affect your air quality, and then people are going to get sick, and then someone's getting sued. So they have to make sure that they mitigate everything back to where it's going to be completely dry before they rebuild. And so they're going to take care of all this stuff, right? They'll tear it all out and they'll have all kinds of fans. And they've got guys that are trained on how to position a fan to create circulation currents that aren't contrary with each other and all this kind of jazz. And they're going to have commercial dehumidifier equipment in there that'll literally suck the moisture out of your liver if you sit in the room too long. Like, it's unbelievable technology, right? And they can dry a house down in just a couple of days to the point where they have to monitor it consistently, because if they leave it going too long, they'll take too much moisture out of the house and cause damage. So they have a guy with technician who comes by maybe twice a day. He'll do some readings, and they've got a good handle on how to bring a house back to a point where it's safe to be inhabiting again. And they can do that within 48 hours of the phone call. Brilliant. Gotta love it. Now, unfortunately, let's take a look at, and that's just the mitigation. That's not the restoration side. Let's stop there. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves. Let's talk about what it looks like for everybody today, because that company has a few employees and they've got a little warehouse with a couple hundred pieces of equipment. And there's a few of these companies around, right? And what happens now is, and I was in the office when this happened, the phone calls started coming in, my basement. And almost immediately, we would start getting faxes back in the day when people used fax machines. And the insurance companies would say, you know what, here's the deal. Anybody with damage under X number of dollar amount, just, if they're our client, just go take care of them. We don't even want to send out a claims adjuster to find out, because there's so many clients and it's so broad, we can't possibly babysit the situation. So just bill us and get it done, okay? Because not acting it's more cost detrimental to the company than trying to be careful with making sure everybody qualifies for action. So I don't know if that made any sense, but there's such a thing as lawsuits in this world. So what happens is, as a company, we were mandated. We're like, okay, so here we go. Everybody jump in your truck, load up all the equipment. And we would all get a list of addresses, all right? And this list of addresses was populated by the insurance companies that these restoration companies were under contract to represent. So insurance company XYZ would say, here's 20 clients, go and take care of them. I'd get the list, jump in a truck. I'd have some helper that I didn't know his name because he was hired off of a day laborer website, all right, because we had to maximize our effort. We would load up a bunch of 20 fans, 20 houses, 20 fans, 20 pieces of paper. We would drive around all 20 locations and say, hi, we're from ABC Restoration Company. Please sign here. We'll leave you a fan. We'll be back as soon as we can, and we'll mitigate your situation. And they're like, what are you talking about? My basement's full of water. I'm like, it's not going to get any worse in the next 6 to 8 hours. Wet is wet. and you're not the only customer. So What we would do is we'd drive around town, get everybody to sign their piece of paper to guarantee that we were going to be servicing them, drop off a piece of equipment, and that was our legal right to take care of that client moving forward. Did it solve any problems? No. But then we would compile that information and put together a strategy. The next day, because generally speaking with water, the next day, there's always less water. It finds a way to leave the building, right? Even in a basement, the sewer systems would ease up and then would start to drain. If you're slab on grade like you are in Texas, open your door and just broom it all out, right? Get rid of it as much as you can. But here's what would happen. We would go out after the next day and we would rent a big truck. And our first goal was, let's get rid of all of the building material that is causing things to get worse. Carpeting, number one, right? Carpeting takes a wet corner and makes the whole room wet because it just soaks it up and then delivers all that into all the drywall in all four corners. So if we could mitigate a situation, we'd show up and we'd be like, if we do this and this and this, we can reduce the impact of this claim. Let's get that done. In, out, an hour or two, next client, go, go, go. And we would work like that all day and all night and all week until everybody got the majority of their mitigation taken care of. And then we would do round two of mitigation was actually finishing the removal process. Now, the day two, the removal process was different because now we're talking about all the contents. We had to categorize it. We had to label it, take pictures because the insurance company has contents insurance. They're going to put a price on all that stuff, right? So you got to be very meticulous here and make sure that everything you own that's affected is cataloged and photographed. And it's very painstaking, detailed information. It's almost like a forensic accounting in the middle of a disaster restoration. And what happens is because it was all sewage, it was all in garbage. Now, in your situation, you're dealing mostly fresh water. So you get to pick and choose what you want to keep, what you want to dry out, and whatever. But the point is this. We would then take all the walls and all the ceilings and the rest of the flooring, cabinets, other affected material, and we would pile it up on the front yard by the curb. Okay? And the reason being is in most of these situations, the city will mandate that the garbage trucks will go around and collect all this stuff. And our time was better suited continuing to do the remediation than driving back and forth to the dump. Make sense? Our goal was to get rid of things that trapped water so it was sitting there because water that's sitting there continues to cause major issues. Now, what we want to deal with is getting rid of the insulation that's wet because as long as the insulation's wet, the framework is wet. And if the framework is wet and that is where the mold is, don't forget that mold comes from the wood because it was in a forest and it was in dirt and it took the mold out of the dirt up through the roots and now it's in the wood and then we put it in our homes. So now that it's in the home, as long as you keep it dry, it doesn't grow. But now you've got insulation soaking wet up against the wood, keeping the wood wet. And the food source for the mold, by the way, is drywall and it's pressed right up against it. And in Texas, you don't even have a vapor barrier plastic between the wood and the drywall. So you really only have like 3 days to get rid of that stuff or you're in a lot of trouble. 3 days of drywall sitting in water up against wood is mold. Guaranteed. I don't care what you do, you're going to be in trouble. Now, since that's the mitigation process, we got 3 days. And since you've already had a couple of days wet, and since if you're lucky, you've had someone come out and drop off a fan, and you've maybe signed paperwork, and you've got at least another 2 days before they really can maybe gut your house, I'm going to leave it up to you to decide if you think it's worth the effort for you to go up and remove insulation out of your attic or your walls or whatever's affected. But understand that if you don't get rid of the water and you don't get it drying, you're going to move into mold. And this is where it gets really ugly. The next couple of days, all these things will be determined. We have such a thing in the industry of restoration. It's called the New York Protocol for Mold Restoration. And what that is anything less than 15 square feet of mold, it can be dealt with on site. It's not deemed to be such a huge exposure that they need to employ any kind of measures to protect people or the atmosphere in the house. If you had a pipe burst, I'm telling you right now, you're more than 15 square feet of affected area. 90+% of the cases, okay? It's just not going to happen. And if you don't get it dried out in time and get the drywall removed in time, what you're going to end up with is mold that's of such a grand scale that these technicians that come to the house to make this diagnosis, they're duty bound. They're trained. They're certificated. They're under contract. They're like a doctor. Do no harm. Well, these guys are like, I see mold and it's huge. I've got to take over this house and protect the air quality and the people living here from their own bad decision making. And they're going to basically say, hey, there's too much mold. We've got to seal off this area. And if they can seal it off and mitigate it, great. But in some cases, they're going to say, go find yourself a hotel and get out of here. We got to fix your house. They're going to rip everything out. They got to mitigate it. They got to bring in environmental engineers, do air quality testing. There's quite a process. And with that scale going on, it's going to drag it out. All right. So the way you solve and go from being 100% effective to maybe 70 or 50 is maybe your best case is, as a homeowner, identify the really wet areas, pull that drywall down, get it out of your house. Okay. Get the insulation out of your house. If you have a fan and your hydro's on, do what you can do and start burning that right now. Get things drying out. Okay. If you had an attic pipe burst and your only access is through a hatch in a garage or something, but you have soaking wet ceiling, it's only drywall. Cut a hole, get the wet stuff out of there, get that wet insulation out of there. Let the heat that's on in the house get up into the attic, and it'll dry it out a lot faster than if you just wait for that cold air to dry it out, right? Basic ideas, and it'll be amazing. Now listen, we do have a program going on right now. We decided to start our own, what do you call this? I can't even remember. My tongue's not working tonight. We have a program going on where you can push a button, you can make a donation. It's called Feeding Texas, all right? And basically, it's probably one of the safest ways that we can go to help people in Texas right now is to help fund a program that feeds people. And Feeding Texas supplies to all of the food banks. And so for everybody who's been dramatically affected, there's going to be help out there. We're doing our best. I'm seeing it just rolling through the chat right now. People are donating money, and I mean a lot of money. And, you know, the best part about this, guys, honestly, donate. I don't even touch it. We set this up through YouTube, straight to the foundation. They're pre-qualified on YouTube. So every dollar you give goes straight to this organization. There's no middlemen. There's no skimming off the top. And it's like guaranteed. And guys like this, feeding organizations like the food bank people, they can turn $1 into $4 of value because they have purchasing power, they got arrangements, and they can really do a lot of good with that, okay? So feel free, jump in and do what you can. Every little bit helps, all right? If we all pitch in a little bit, you know, we can make a big difference. Now, yes, we're going to go to the phones tonight again, but I wanted to get that understanding out of the way. It's a basic understanding. But if I have a house and I can help one person go from everything is soaking wet to at least, if you're an able-bodied person and you can pull the drywall and insulation down and get it out of the house so you don't go to mold, it's going to be a world of difference to you, okay? Because you can live in a house with no drywall, especially in the springtime, right? It's not that hot. It's not that cold. You'll be okay. You can go without drywall for a couple months even if you have to. We'll talk about the whole rebuilding process in other videos to come. But tonight, it's all about let's try to mitigate the problem. Let's try to move everybody up a couple notches, right? I can't take you from 100% loss to, oh, that was inconvenient. But I can sure help make your life easier, better, one notch at a time. If we can help everybody just do one step better than they would have otherwise, then we've accomplished a great, great thing tonight. So that is the goal, all right? You know, hey, bless everybody who's doing this. This is awesome. I could just sit here all night long and watch everybody donating to Feeding Texas. This is crazy, eh? Up to $400 now. You know, like this is amazing. Listen, we got 460 people in the room right now. I want everybody here, give a like to the video. Let's continue to send the signal to YouTube that this information is useful and valuable and what we're doing is a good thing and that we should be sharing this with the world. Share this video with everybody you know in Texas. Share with everybody who's affected by the storm. Before we go any further, there are a lot of outlying regional areas that are experiencing untraditionally cold seasons, okay? Weird weather for them even. So folks with post and beam construction, folks that have roofing but aren't used to ice dams, like what the heck is an ice dam, right? If that's new for you, then we're going to have another follow-up video. Maybe we'll talk about it tomorrow, Matt, ice damming, because it's not as dramatic or traumatic, but it still has to be addressed. If you've got paint on the wall that's got that wrinkling, sagging, like I'm 120-year-old lady look, like that is a sign that you've got water coming down the wall from the roof, usually from ice that's melting and getting up underneath the shingles. A lot of zones aren't necessarily using an ice and water shield around the edge of the house to protect from ice damming. So if you get an unusual event in that area, water goes into the wall. And if you've got fiberglass insulation, it gets wet and it gets heavy and it drops. And now you've got this air cavity with no insulation. And you know what's going to happen there, right? Now you got 4-season weather. You've got an air cavity. You're going to have all kinds of moisture and frost build up and more moisture. All of that is going to turn into a moldy wall in your house. So you can deal with it now, or you can deal with it when it turns black. It's up to you, but you might as well deal with it now, because at least then when the summer comes and you turn on the air conditioning, you don't have a weak spot in your wall. It's costing you a lot of money, right? Wow, look at this. Man, oh man, oh man. You guys are way too generous. Maybe I'm a little ahead of my time here, but if every time we have a natural disaster, we can all just chip in and help each other out, have we not just made the world a better place? This would just be amazing. Okay, Matt, I don't have a whole lot. I didn't want to make a huge presentation tonight, but I do want to emphasize. If you're a homeowner and you've experienced pipes bursting and you're going to be calling your insurance company, and if you haven't, please do, because I'll tell you right now, it's all order and priority. And the priority for the insurance company is the first guy that makes the call. All right? Unless you have a significant health concern, and if you do, tell them. All right? Because they can change your priority on the list. We had A group and B group people when we had to do catastrophic loss. Okay? So if you have a significant health concern, or your situation was unique in some way, like you have a brand new baby. Okay, we were suckers for people who had brand new babies. We would turn everything upside down and have that house rebuilt in 3 days if that was the case. So feel free to share that situation, pitch your situation, try to get on the A list. Okay, get immediate response. What's up? My phone?
Yep.
I'm looking at my phone.
It's in a document there that you are asked to be, or you're asked to read that.
By who?
The boss.
Which boss?
The whole family's boss, man.
Mom sent me this. I thought it was Susan Wojcicki from YouTube. Okay. How am I going to read that? So tiny. Understanding carbon monoxide. Okay. That's not a bad idea. I've got a son-in-law here who's he's a firefighter, and we were watching the news, and he was like exceptionally concerned because, his crew kind of deal with this kind of stuff. Carbon monoxide. Wow. You know what, Michelle, I'll tell you what, why don't we put that up and post that as a community post on the website, on our YouTube page, sorry. But I'll just give you some highlights here. When you're cold, you can't solve cold with heat sources that have off gas, that are fumes that are deadly. Carbon monoxide is the one, right? So we've all seen the movies where the person is in the car and they're in the garage and the car's running, and it's not a healthy scenario, right? You can't use the car to warm up the house. You can't use the barbecue to warm up the house. You can burn furniture, but that comes with its own quality problems. There are a lot of people that actually ended up going to the hospital because they left the car running to try to create a heat source. Okay, but you've got to get rid of the carbon monoxide. The effects of burning an engine, a fossil fuel engine, are poisonous gas. All right, so don't do that in your house. Don't burn things in enclosed space. Bottom line, if you're cold and you want to warm up a space, just use candles, okay? Wear sweaters and use candles. Put up blankets on the windows and the doors. Have the whole family sleep in one room if you have to. But for God's sake, I feel like I'm a little bit late with some of this information, but yeah, right? And honestly, if you still don't have power yet, make sure you turn off your hot water tanks, electric or gas. It's just dangerous, okay? Awesome. All right, let's get into, that's awesome. Let's get into some phone calls tonight. I'm interested in opening this up. Michelle, maybe you can throw the phone number back up on the line. I've got the battery charged here. We're good to go. Yeah, it's not minus 20 in Texas. It's cold, but not that cold. Well, it's minus 20. When it's minus 6 in Texas, it's minus 20 because we have Celsius, Fahrenheit. And I know what minus 20 feels like. And to be honest with you, right now in Ottawa, it's like minus 20 on a cold day still. And we go outside without our hats and coats on just to run a quick errand or go to the store or something. It's not that brutal. You get acclimatized, right? Like you get used to certain temperatures and you kind of get used to it and adjust through the scale. And then after the first time you're cold is really cold, but then after that, it's like, it's not so bad. When it comes and you're not used to it, the body's almost in shock and it doesn't know how to react. And it feels crazy. So there's the phone number, guys. Boom. Here's the phone. We want to hear from you. What are the current challenges today? What information can I help you with? You know, I'm a construction guy. I'm a restoration guy. If you want to have some tidbits to help make life less costly moving forward, I want to know what's going on. Are they restoring water? Have they given the order yet that you're allowed to use water? That's going to be good. You're probably on a boil water advisory. That's not even worth asking. What's the electrical situation? Meaning, do you have power again? All this kind of stuff. Okay. So yeah, that's working. Let's go from that. Why did I say turn off the water heater? If you don't have water, okay, and you still have the power going to the heater, it's going to try to heat up just the air, and you can actually damage your appliance if your water heater's been emptied, right? So because of everything that's going on, it's easy to siphon that tank out and it sits empty. And then the power comes on, but the water's not moving yet because the city is like having issues. You can actually overheat your unit and then damage it. So it's best to just turn it off. Kerosene heaters. There are some kinds of heaters that are designed to be used in an enclosed space. All right. Everybody who owns one already bought one for that purpose. Everything else, don't get creative. Okay. It's just not worth it. It's a short period of time. You might think you're going to freeze to death, but a couple of sweaters and a couple pairs of socks and a couple of candles, you'll get through that no problem. So don't freak out and go way overboard and actually make yourself sick and risk killing yourself because, you know, -6, if you keep active, it's not going to hurt you, right? It just feels like you're going to die, but you're not. I promise you. You just haven't climatized to it yet, but you'll be okay. Just cover up your bare skin, do some huddling, you know, kumbaya, lots of family hugs, and you'll be all right. You'll get through it. Let's get into the comment section here until people start using the phone. Bonfire in the backyard is not going to help you out unless you want to hang out in your backyard around the fire. You know, that's a great time. Yeah, cheers to that. Love a good bonfire in Canada. You know what? I don't know if there's going to be a charge for you calling this question. It's not a 1-800 number. I'm not covering your long distance call, but lots of people have a cell phone plan where it's free Canada, USA calling. So I'll leave that to you. If you think the $3 to $5 might be worth saving a few thousand, then go right ahead. I'm not worried about it. It's all good. Oh, cheers. Look at this. Rizzy Painting. I don't know who that guy is, but that's a painter who just donated $100 to help feed Texas. All right. So you know, Texas, people care. All right? You're not alone. Even if you do have your own independent power grid, you're not alone. All right, here it comes. Let's get going. The audio's okay. Glad to hear it. All right, guys. Hello, you're on the air with Jeff. What can I do to help you? Or maybe you're not. Yep, we're not. I'd like to think that the phone is working fine. I still got lots of battery. Feel free to call back. Sorry if that didn't work. There are a lot of people using cell phones down there. And if you're calling from Texas and your cell phone drops the call, it's because the whole world's trying to find out if you guys are all right. And I get it. So not to worry. All right. Well, Matt, you're going backwards in time here. What's going on?
There was a question about the floor drain or the floor system you're talking about, the water pipe and the insulation. He was asked about the best kind of insulation to put on that piece at the street.
Oh, yeah. So that's for next time. We'll go through how to mitigate problems in the future. The point is, when we're dealing with water supply and cold temperatures, we're dealing with two things. We need a source of heat and we need insulation from the cold to trap the heat where we want it, which is on the water pipe. Unfortunately, in your neighborhood down in Texas, all of your water supply is about 6 inches below the surface, and you all have that little green box at the front door. And when you take off your plastic lid, there's nothing there to protect that pipe. You don't even have the dirt. So people say, oh, the frost line isn't going to get 6 inches down in 2 days. It's true. But when that green lid is involved, there is no frost line. You're at ground zero. And that joint actually is one of the first things to freeze because it's at ambient air temperature. So when it's minus 6 degrees outside, it's minus 6 degrees on your main shutoff valve. It'll freeze solid before you even think to go and turn it. That's the trick. So what you can do is you can just take a piece of insulation, put it on top of that valve, and then put your green lid back on. Now that insulation traps the heat coming up from the ground, which is always, 45, 50 degrees or something like that in your scale in the States. And it'll keep your valve from freezing shut. So at least you have the capacity to open and close as you find it's valuable to do so. So it's great to have water if you keep power, but then if you lose power, then you can go out there and you can take that off and then and then drain your lines, right? And then you can make that adjustment. That's all I'm saying. All right.
Howdy, how you doing?
Hello, it's Jeff here. Who am I talking to?
Hey, howdy, how you doing?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you.
So what's your name?
I'm doing good. I'm watching your live right now. It's pretty amazing.
Oh, thanks. What can we do to help you out? You got a question for us?
Yes. So I owned my own house for 3 years.
Yep.
And I started saving wood because we started having little bonfires in the back.
Yeah.
And we ran out of firewood, but I still was buying some from the neighbors.
Okay.
And yes, I am from Texas, by the way.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. And so is there a question in there, or you just wanted to tell me your story?
So the question is that I almost probably, with the fireplace, I got charcoal and almost started burning the wood in the house. Yeah, with charcoal.
Okay. So
is that safe?
You mean charcoal briquettes for like cooking on a barbecue?
Yes.
I would say that's probably not a good idea. Those are designed for outdoor use because they do have off-gassing. And the other thing is, most of your fires, if you're using it for heat, you want to make sure you're using a clean wood. Like there's lots of softwood lumber out there that is not a good idea to burn because it builds up in your chimney. So if you've been resorted to using softwood lumber to make heat, make sure you bring in a chimney cleaning service after this is all over, because that residue is actually dangerous and can catch fire in itself. All right. But yeah, so try to stick to the hardwoods when you're burning wood. Now, there's lots of stores out there that sell a wood pellet for like a stove pellet, and you can use some of those. That's a hardwood pellet, and that'll help. But I think for the most part, you guys are going to be over the hill through the temperature tragedy in the next 24 hours or so. So you should be okay.
Okay.
It's going to start warming up real soon.
Yeah, it's pretty sunny right now. It's not. It's like a pretty day. It's cool and sunny.
I know, and it's like, if nothing else, at least it reminds you that things are going to be all right. We just got to get through the next few days. Did you have any problems with power outage where you are?
Yes, not the power outage. Luckily, I live in a very small town, and there's about an average of population of 2,000.
Okay.
But my water pipes did freeze, and we thought we had a major leak. But the next day, right after the freeze, I left them on.
Right.
And then when I woke up, they weren't running. So our house is built on cement.
Okay.
So yeah, we thought we were gonna spend a whole bunch of money, but of course we didn't. So thank God that didn't happen.
Well, there you go. So there's lots of folks who are right on that same edge of, is it going to be a disaster or not? And some people got away with not having a problem, and some people have really suffered. Yes. So that's cool. Well, thanks.
Yeah, my neighbors sure did. I asked them if they needed water. And my neighbors they have the plumbers right now. We've been seeing the plumbers like going down the road and coming back. So yeah, there are a bunch of leaks here in this town.
Yeah, I'm sure there are, and I'm sure these guys haven't even gone to bed for a couple of days. Listen, thanks for the call. It's great to get an update of what your neighborhood's going like. All right. So cheers. Appreciate it. And good luck
Yeah,
moving forward,
thank
guys.
you.
All
Thank
right.
you for helping us out.
My
right.
pleasure. Take care. Bye-bye. Wow, that's amazing. Please hit the like button. Here we go. Hello, it's Jeff. Who am I talking to?
Oh my gosh. Hi, Jeff. My name is Vincent.
Hi, Vincent. What's going on in your neck of the woods, buddy?
Yes, sir. Well, we got power back, thankfully, yesterday morning. Finally,
Okay.
after, 4 days, I believe. But we're doing fine now. But I'm actually in the process of purchasing a new home, and actually yesterday was supposed to be my closing date.
Right.
And because, of the weather, our closing date got pushed, and right now we're actually in the middle of touch-ups, and the builder hasn't had anyone come out there to, do their touch-ups. And so it got delayed till next Friday.
Okay.
My question is, what should I look out for, especially this is a new home?
Yep.
I've got PEX tubing or PEX pipes or PEX piping, and I've got spray foam insulation, just kind of a regular house. By the way, I'm a newbie at this stuff, so I'm trying to find out, what should I look out for as far as like damage, if there was damage. And the builder just called me this morning and said that he didn't see anything, but
Yeah.
what should I double check for when I go through the final walkthrough?
This is a great question, right? Because you've got all of the advanced technology in your house there. The PEX piping should have mitigated any risk of pipes freezing. And for people who want to know how to move forward, get rid of your copper and go to PEX, because if it happens again, at least the PEX will expand and then contract again without bursting. But one of the things that people have noticed is that they're getting ice damming on the edge of the roof. And depending on your style of roof and who built it, you may not have, crying shame. Depending on the style of roof and who built it, you may not have ice and water shield. And so you want to take a look on the interior walls outside, like the exterior walls from the inside, and look for that paint peeling or water damage look. That means it has to be opened up, insulation repaired, and then rebuilt from there. Hello, Jeff here. Who's on the phone with me here?
Hey, Jeff, how are you? This is Omar from Frisco, Texas.
Hey, my friend Omar. Listen, I'm good. How are you doing? That's more important.
Oh, we're doing great.
Yeah?
It was a rough couple of days, but thankfully everything seems to be getting a little bit better now.
Yeah, that is true. For everybody who hasn't had a major flood, it's getting better. And so are you in that group? Did you have any major problem, or you got through okay?
No, so yeah, we're thankfully okay. We did have our pipes did freeze in the kitchen, and
Yep.
We have PEX plumbing and irrigation. My question is, so it did freeze, and for a couple of days, but it's working today.
Yep.
Can there be cracks without catastrophic failure of the pipe, or if it's working and it's good to go?
That is a really good question, Omar, and I totally understand where you're coming from. Now, catch this. The best plumbing system on the market right now is actually from Uponor Plumbing, and that particular company has what they call an expansion tool. So they have something that looks like a tool that the doctor used to put in your ear to check out your hearing, and it expands the pipe, and then they put the fittings in, and then it shrinks onto the pipe again. And so what ends up happening there is that pipe, by its nature, has the expansion capacity of over 50% without sacrificing its integrity. Now, when you have water freezes and it gets really cold and it expands, the pipe is able to take that expansion, and then after the freezing, it shrinks back up again like nothing ever happened. It doesn't actually cause any long-term effect from the best of our understanding at this point.
Okay.
So you get to say, okay, so
we have foundation issues as it is in Texas, and you just don't want a small leak to
yeah,
overwater situation.
I totally get it. But if you're on the PEX water system, you're going to find that you guys are going to be the ones that don't have a problem. It's the folks that are going to be on the copper system that are going to have the biggest problem.
All right. Awesome.
All right.
Well, thank you very much, Jeff, and thank you very much for doing this. I love your channel.
Hey, listen, happy to help, Omar. And if you got any neighbors and stuff that are out there who are suffering, spread the word. Let them know there's help. We're going to do this every day so that we can help people navigate not just the the after effects of the storm and the floods, but also the insurance restoration process. Okay, we're going to be here to help folks and walk through all that so that they have a better understanding and that they don't become a victim of the process. Right.
We really appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Jeff.
Cheers, man. Bye-bye.
All right, take care. Bye.
Like, just to remind everybody who's watching, if you're just tuning in, because it's a live show and YouTube just brings you to where we are now. We're taking live phone calls from people who are affected by the storms down in Texas or even other regions. You know, if you're in an area where it just got colder than you're used to and it's messed up with your house and you're having problems and you're looking for some help, the solution, I'm your guy. Give us a call. The number's on the screen. Yep. More. And if you're looking to help people who are affected by this, we started our little fundraiser. Feeding Texas gives food to distribute to all the programs that are available out there. Feel free to jump in and help out. Cheers. Hello, Jeff here. What can I do to help?
Hey, Jeff, this is Brandon. I'm from Austin, Texas. I was just calling in because we've had power for about 48 hours now. We've had a chance to kind of take assessment of everything. The inside looks good. The next step for us is looking at our irrigation system outside.
Yeah.
Any tips on how to detect if there's going to be bursts out there? Because all we were able to do before the storm hit was just turn the electrical panel off. We weren't able to shut the valves off.
Wow. That is a brilliant question. You know what? And I'll be honest with you, a lot of people out there are still dealing with my ceiling's raining, but everybody's in a different place, right? So now you've got your irrigation system. Do you have any idea how deep your irrigation is actually channeled? Is it 2 inches or 6 or?
I would say probably closer to 6. When I looked out in the front, that's next to the meter where the backflow preventer is, that looks like that's about 6 to 7 inches down. So I'm assuming the rest of the line is being run at about that same depth. Okay,
so your irrigation system, you guys generally depend on that to kick in sometime, in May, early June?
Yeah, I would say that's about when I would start kicking it on, yeah.
Okay, so I'm not really an expert on what's going to happen there except for this. I know you guys don't blow out your lines heading into wintertime, right? You just let the water sit and you're not expecting it to freeze and blow anything up. Now, having said that, if you had water and it was 6 inches in the ground and it was -6, let's call it -6 continuous for 4 days, you're kind of dancing with the devil whether or not the cold frost line got down to the point where it expanded and broke the line or not. What I'm going to suggest is you put in your phone call to your irrigation company, whoever does your maintenance or installation, and post that question with them, because they're going to be able to tell you if they're running into problems moving into the springtime, what you can expect. My guess is that 6 inches of dirt over a couple of days for that kind of temperature really probably isn't going to be a big issue. If it was going to be a big issue, I think we'd be experiencing even more broken pipes in homes, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, because you got insulation, you got a heat source. So the difference is your house didn't have a heat source, but the ground does, right? The ground actually is warm underneath your pipe, and it's rising up the entire time. And so because it has a heat source,
help insulate the top.
yeah, your frost line, it really comes down to where's the frost line, and it's right on the edge there. After 3 days of that temperature, you're kind of like, maybe. At the end of the day, it's an irrigation system, so it'd be inconvenient if there was a problem, but it's not going to be catastrophic. Right.
Of course, yeah.
So put in a call and find out. And the guys who make that stuff, they're going to have a better idea on the material they're using and what kind of danger zone they're dealing with. Okay. They'll be able to say, we've tested it at this temperature for so many days, you're going to be good or not. But they'll know. They'll have done the testing before they put it in the market.
Okay. That's
right.
Great. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Cheers, man.
For everything you're doing, too. This is great.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Cheers. Take care.
Cheers, bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, that's tough, eh? Man, oh man. So many different issues to deal with. All right. Hello, you're on the line with Jeff. Who am I talking to?
This is Vincent. My son hung up on you earlier.
That's okay, man. No worries. What's going on, Vincent?
Yeah. So I kind of rewinded a bit. I'm watching live at the same time, so I kind of got the ice damming.
Yes.
And what else should I be looking out for?
Well, really, honestly, if you didn't have a frozen pipe and it's PEX plumbing, I wouldn't expect it. I'm actually going to tell people if you got PEX plumbing and you don't have a problem, then you're not going to get a problem. It's not something that the storm is going to cause damage that will then eventually become a problem. You either got it or you don't. Okay? That's pretty much my take on that. Now, that's not the only kind of damage we're dealing with. We just had a caller talking about his irrigation system. If you have a new house and you got an irrigation system, it's part of the program, check that out, right? You also want to check out the hose bib, right, for gardening.
Right.
That's another area you got to take a look at. You also want to take a look at basically what we're calling the ice damming and water working its way underneath roof tile. Do you have a clay tile, or is it an asphalt shingle or a metal roof? Or I'm sorry?
A shingle.
A shingle. Okay, so shingles are fabulous water diversion systems. The weakness in that is that when ice builds up, it then melts and crawls up behind the shingle, underneath the shingle, and then can come into the house if you don't have an ice and water shield. Most of the houses in Texas don't require ice and water shield by code. And so some systems have membranes, some don't. I'm not exactly sure where your house is going to land. I can watch one side of a street of a neighborhood getting 100% membrane and look on the other side. It's a different builder in the same neighborhood building the same house, and they're not using anything, right? So it's a bit of a crapshoot. But if you go inside your house and you look at the paint job on the wall near the ceiling, on the outside walls, you'll be able to see if water made it up underneath the shingle and then melted and came in the wall. Because you don't have a plastic vapor barrier in your construction, your drywall will actually soak up a lot of that moisture, and then the paint will end up like looking like a melting candle. And it might just be a tiny little spot, okay? But that's what you're looking for. You're looking for evidence that water got into the wall cavity, because that means the insulation, which in a lot of cases is still fiberglass, got wet and it sank, and now you got a weak spot in the wall, and you got wet insulation holding water against the framing and the drywall, and mold can develop. You're going to have a draft there for sure. It's a weak spot in your insulation, and a builder would be more than happy to take care of that if you find that. All right. So,
yeah, my house is covered by it's not a dry line, but it's a different material. But the material it's kind of it feels like paper to the touch, but they said it helps with the moisture.
Sure.
I forgot what it's called. It's a weird name.
Okay. Yeah. No, I get it. I guess it's going to be a vapor barrier / air barrier of some sort on the exterior, right? Okay. Give me 2 seconds. I'm going to just draw this out so that everybody at home can see this. All right. We're changing our sign. Daddy's going to start drawing. Oh boy. All right. Vincent, bear with me for just a second. We're going to do a little bit of something here. Okay. So, can you see the screen that we're talking with here?
Yeah, there's a slight echo, but I can follow.
Okay. Let's call this your wall cavity. Okay. And then we have a roof line. All right. And then we have your shingles here, and the ice builds up. And the water gets underneath the shingle, and it falls right in here. Okay. Your insulation is in this wall cavity, and it soaks it all up. And what happens is it transfers moisture right into your drywall. And then your paint ends up with these little wrinkly sagging lines. All right. But what happens, the insulation also sinks. So now you've got this big void in your wall. Okay. Does that make sense? And so when you see that sagging paint look, what's happening here is your insulation is falling down, and now you've got this great big void. And that void, maybe it's not a big deal, but in the summertime, your AC is going in here. It's hot outside. Now you got condensation in here. In the wintertime, your heat's inside. It's cold outside. You got condensation in here again. Sooner or later, that's going to manifest in black mold on your drywall. Okay? And that's what you got to be concerned about. It may be 6 months or a year, 2 seasons later, but if you have a void in your wall cavity, you're guaranteed black mold. So look for that sign, because it'll manifest in the paint. Guaranteed. You'll never get water in your wall without it manifesting in your paint. Okay? Matt's going to clean that for me. Thanks, buddy. Get some paper towels down here too, maybe, eh? You might get crazy drawing later. So Vincent, that's what you want to look for. You want to look for that that evidence that the paint is got like wrinkly. Because drywall is an amazing sponge. And it's really beneficial in the fact that when it gets wet, it really screams, hey, I'm wet. You can't miss it. If the wall cavity behind drywall is wet, the drywall gets wetter than the rest of it. It can pull in more water than the wood can handle. And so it is really a marvelous tool at communicating with us when there's a problem. Okay? And if it doesn't communicate there's a problem, then 99% of the time there is no problem. All right? And that's a better guarantee than any home builder is going to give you. All right?
Thank you so much.
All right. Hey, my pleasure. I hope that helps.
You're doing good work.
Okay. Appreciate it, buddy. We'll talk to you later. All the best. All right. Here we go. I'm going to put this on the charger real quick. Make sure that we can maybe have some long-standing. Here we go. Hey, nice. Okay. Appreciate it, buddy. Well done. Here we go. All right. Here we go. Hello. You're on the air with Jeff. Who am I talking to?
Hi, Jeff. This is Alicia from Dallas.
Alicia from Dallas. How are things in Dallas, Alicia?
Pretty good. Last night, I guess we got our electricity back, so we've been doing really good.
Alicia, were you on rolling brownouts or were you just no power?
Well, and we actually had rolling blackouts.
Okay.
So we would have power for about 30 minutes, and then we'd go for about an hour and a half without anything.
And so that was actually the best result. And it's probably the best thing that the power company was able to do considering the situation. Because at least then you got a little bit of heat, right?
Right,
did you get any pipes bursting?
No pipes bursting, but
Good.
I think ours is more structural, maybe, and that's why we're calling. Is we did have to use a gas heater, gas fireplace in order to kind of keep things warm for us.
Okay.
And so it would get really hot when we could use that, but we couldn't regulate the temperature very well. And then it would go down very cold once we had to go to sleep, and so then it would go, down to 40, 30 degrees.
I see where you're going. Yeah. All right.
And so what we experienced is we heard a lot of popping all throughout our house as heat and then get colder.
Yep.
And we're also now seeing like little cracks in our wall or like right at our ceiling where where you were just talking about with where the water should be coming in. We're not seeing water or any of those wavy lines. We're seeing cracks now.
Yes.
Is there anything structural that we should be worried about because of this heat and then cold?
That is a brilliant question. So I'll answer that with my experience living here in Canada, where we get so cold, you step outside, you take one deep breath and you turn into an icicle. When it gets that cold, the structure of the house on the other side of the insulation that's exposed to the atmosphere, it actually, it goes through a couple of different changes. So we enter into the winter, we have a certain relative humidity in the wood, and generally it's dry, and there's not a lot of moisture in the wood. And so what happens is that dry wood gets cold without much of a negative effect. But in your situation, going from hot to cold, if you had water on your roof, turn to ice, and then melt, and then come inside a little bit, and then freeze, and then back and forth, you actually get wet wood. And then when the wet wood freezes, you're just sitting there minding your own business, and all of a sudden, bam, you just hear this loud noise, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, the pop.
That's the frost. Yeah, that's the frost. And so basically what's happening there is there are minor issues of structural integrity going on, but we're so used to it up here, we don't even think twice. And it's minor hairline splits and cracks in the wood, okay, that happen because the frost has to just expand and something has to give. So what I'm going to suggest is this, that it's kind of like having a new car that's had a few stones hit the body and you got a couple of dings in it, but it's not going to affect the longevity of the car as much as how good you feel about it. You know what I mean? There's really no long-term effect to having a little bit of frost in your house. So I wouldn't be too concerned if you were going hot and cold for the entire winter. Man, I'd be having a structural engineer crawling through my attic. But if you've only seen a little bit, that's going to be a little bit of this dramatic expansion and contraction going on over the few days. I think there's going to be a lot of folks who are going to have cracks in their drywall. And generally speaking, you know, you might have had a little moisture work its way into some of these joints. Now, if you have the cracks on the outside wall, I'm going to say yes, it was definitely the water. If you're having the cracks on the inside, that might be a little different. Like interior walls in the middle of the house?
It's on the outside wall, yes.
Okay.
Outside wall of our house, but inside, yes.
So what you're going to find, the exterior, but the interior of that side, right? So what you're going to find is there was a certain amount of moisture working its way into your exterior walls. Do you have any idea if you have fiberglass or mineral wool insulation?
Fiberglass.
Okay. So you're in the same boat as everybody else who had a little bit of water work into the wall. Did your drywall start to deteriorate at all and get that saggy,
Not at all.
paint
No,
look?
it's
Okay.
just got the crack. Not at all, but just the crack.
Okay. So the cracks might have been just a result of the structure expanding and contracting. And the drywall and the tape couldn't handle that. Okay.
Okay.
But you don't have enough moisture in there to cause all the damage that I was talking about that would require you opening the wall, right?
Right.
Okay, so I'm going to suggest that one mouse can do more damage than that storm in that environment. All right? And every time you catch a mouse in the house, you don't rip your house apart to change your insulation. So that would be kind of where I would go with that. Okay, so it's a bit of a problem.
You think a pool?
Well, it's not that dramatic. You had a little moisture, but houses have an incredible ability to absorb moisture and then release it back into the atmosphere again and dry out on their own. When you don't see the moisture manifest on the paint work, it really is your sign as a homeowner that it's not that big a deal. Okay? And it's not worth even investigating because the cost to fix the investigation is greater than the amount of energy loss you're going to experience over the next 20 years.
Perfect.
Okay?
I like saving money.
Little peace of mind, you know?
All right. Yeah. Do you have anything to fill the crack aside from just some caulking, maybe?
You know what? Don't tell everybody this. Here's a secret. Use a little bit of door and window acrylic caulking, right? Wipe it in with your finger. And if you have that same paint around, just give it a quick run after the paint caulking is dried, because that's what the painters all use.
Wonderful. Great
Okay.
to know.
All right. There you go.
So much. I appreciate it.
Nothing like a $5 fix. All right.
Lovely.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Jeff.
Well, cheers. Glad to be able to help. All right. You take care. Look at that. We're saving Texas one house at a time. Hey, Matty, what's going on over there, buddy? I haven't been in the chat. How are things going? Oh, you know what? Let's just do that real quick. Let's give everybody, we're doing a fundraiser, folks. All right. It's called Feed Texas. They supply all the food banks down in Texas for people who are experiencing catastrophic loss. A lot of the calls we're getting today are folks who aren't in that category, but that's okay. If you got a concern, give us a call. I can help you. Cheers. Hello, you're on the phone with Jeff. Who's this?
Give us a call. I can help you. Oh, you're on the phone with Jeff.
Hey, I think the secret here is to turn down the volume on the other device so then we can have a call. Hello.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good.
Good. Who am I talking to?
This is Jack from BC, Canada.
Jack from BC. Dude,
Yeah.
how are things in BC? You guys got real cold there too, I guess.
Yeah, it's been pretty cold for a few days.
So what can I do to help you out, man?
The one problem that I have, right?
Yep.
I am a sewer sump pump, my whole house drain goes to it,
Yes.
and it's not working, and then so I turned it off, and the sewage has just been going somewhere else. I'm not really sure where. So.
Okay, so you're having a sump pumps. So if you're having a pump issue, what you really need to do is just give yourself a call to a quick plumber. Have them come out and take a look at that and make sure the system's working. If it's not working, they'll have emergency equipment they can install for you. It only takes a couple minutes. But if you don't have that working, and when the weather starts to change a little bit, you could be in a real big mess, dude. So, I would definitely suggest calling a plumber real quick on that one. All right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been like this for a few months now, actually. So.
Wow. Well, so you know what? I mean, it's not a big deal in the fall and into the winter, but when you get into the springtime, you're going to need that working. So give them a call. and they'll be able to help you out and make sure your systems are working. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Cheers, buddy. Thanks for the call. Wow. You know what? Sometimes when you got a home system that's broken and it's not affecting you when it breaks, you forget that there's a time in a season that you're really going to depend on that. It's like driving down the highway and your brakes are gone. You don't care until you need to use the brakes. You know what I mean? All right. Hello, Jeff here. Who am I talking to?
Hey, Jeff, it's Gabe from Kansas. We talked yesterday.
Yeah, Gabe from Kansas. How are things in Kansas today, buddy?
Oh, man, they finally warmed up and just kind of enjoying the weather right now with the kids.
You know, you're making me jealous because I'm living in Ottawa, Canada, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we hit 32 Fahrenheit today, 33.
So isn't that like freezing mark or something, right?
Yeah, 32 is the temperature.
So you're telling me that you just broke even on freezing and it's enjoyable.
Yeah, usually I'm originally from Arizona, so.
Do you know how many people are in Miami shaking their heads right now thinking, what the hell is Gabe talking about? Yeah. No, I can appreciate zero being comfortable when it's sunny outside, though. I'll tell you, we're looking forward to that again. We're about another month away from that.
Oh, man. I tell you, it couldn't come soon enough.
I hear you. So what are things like in your neighborhood? You got lots of folks who are struggling, or did you all make it through pretty good?
Yeah, we made it through pretty good. I told you yesterday we had a few lines bust.
Yeah.
In my house, at least, and I got them fixed. A couple shark bites and a little pecks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're pulling through. I'm replacing all the copper. My question to you is more for the Texas folks, because I know they're sitting on slabs.
Yes.
I've got a little bit of getting my house sold. I've got a little bit of a little bit. I mean, as far as I know, as far as the foundation is concerned, but I've got some foundation damage in my house. I was wondering how concerned should those folks be about foundation issues?
You know, I think they're going to be okay for foundation because slabs are usually on sand.
Okay.
Right. And they had some snow, but in the grand scheme of things, that's a lot less moisture than what they're used to dealing with a major rainstorm. So I think they're going to be okay foundational wise. I'm more concerned with folks like who are on post and beam who had foundation breaks and they had a lot of water running and that, irrigated around their foundation and then weakened their foundation. I'm wondering how many people are going to call me in a month from now going, I woke up this morning after a good rain and my bedroom door didn't want to open. You know what I mean? And so it's probably worth it. Take a few minutes, walk around your house, grab yourself a string line or a big level, have a good look at doors and openings and things like that. Look for little stress cracks. Check to see if things are level or bowing. Look for little signs and details that says, hey, maybe something underneath that foundation, that crawl space needs to be attended to. Because generally speaking, a crawl space is designed to stay dry. And if you have a pipe burst, you're introducing something to that environment that was never really engineered to be there. Right. And so it's worth taking a look to say, are my soil conditions mixed with that much water moving over that period of time going to cause maybe a middle foundation post to drop a half an inch? And it doesn't sound like a big deal, but if everything drops a half an inch, you go to close the door and it just won't catch anymore, or you'll get a crack up a drywall and you'll be like, what's going on? That's just evidence of something maybe needs to be jacked up and shimmed again. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of. I don't know if my house is experiencing any of that. I mean, I went down there, and of course, like I told you, the house is over 100 years old. So I was already expecting foundation cracks and things of that nature.
Yeah.
But because of the extent of the last flood we had, because of the first busted pipe,
yes,
the top was such a nightmare to work with. So I've got some pretty, I don't know, from my rudimentary understanding of foundation and cinder block and things like that, there's some pretty substantial cracks in my foundation. So I'm thinking I'm going to have to get some structural engineers over here to take a look at it.
And that's not a bad idea. And I'll be honest with you, most people hear the word structural engineer and the first reaction is, especially if they have budget constraints, right? It's, oh my God, that's going to cost a fortune. the truth is, guys, and everybody watching, a structural engineer is a skilled mathematician when it comes to building science. And these guys are worth their weight in gold. And if they come out and do a site visit, $200, $300 maybe, and they give you some great advice. And if you have a problem, then they can do drawings and give you the plan to execute that will solve your problem. I mean, it's worth its weight in gold, right? I mean, it's not like taking your car into a mechanic you don't know, and you turn around and go, yeah, you don't get your car back unless you give me $4,000 to fix it. Structural engineer, there's a lot of integrity in that industry, and they know what they're talking about, and they give you great value. So don't ever be hesitating to call one, because they're just good value. I don't know how else to say it. I mean, it's always worth it.
Right. Well, I hired I hired a home inspector before purchasing my house, and he gave the house a complete clean bill of health. You will never have problems with this place. Yeah, it's sagging a little bit, but I mean, it's just from the house settling.
Yeah, and he's probably got a right attitude there, because back 100 years ago when they built, they didn't use a lot of the structural technology we use now, and so he's buttering the toast with the idea of, it's 100 years old, it's got a bit of a sag, but you can't expect differently. So from the perspective of what you expect from a 100-year-old house, your house was in great shape, and that's fair. And I think most people buying a 100-year-old house would say that's a reasonable position to take. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the position I kind of took. I mean, as soon as my wife saw the cracks, she'd she wanted to run for the hills. That's what, come down. I mean, it's 100 years old.
Yeah.
Give me a break.
Yeah. And you know what? If a crack is big enough that it can be a problem, it can also be fixed. God bless construction adhesive and screws.
Well, that was my attitude going in. I mean, depending on how serious it is, especially getting a engineer out here, I might be able to repair it or patch it up, make it to where it doesn't get any worse.
Yeah. That's always the goal with an old house, is to keep it from getting any worse. Trying to bring it back to brand new can be a real daunting task. Listen, thanks for calling in again. Glad to hear you guys are doing well. Glad to hear it's sunny and warming up. That's always good news. And you take care of your family, and cheers. We'll see you again in the future.
Hey, thanks, Jeff.
Okay, buddy. Bye-bye. Bye. Wow, that's awesome. Guys, we're doing a fundraiser on the video tonight. If you want to be a part of the solution to the problem of everybody who's really suffering, then feel free to check it out. We're going to supply money to the food bank that distributes to all the food banks in Texas, and that's a great way to go. Cheers. Hello, it's Jeff, and I'm on the phone with someone eating crackers.
Hey, my name is Dutch, and I had a problem in our kitchen. We had a little bit of flood in the pipe broke. Got that taken care of, but then a little bit after that happened later that night, our tile floor started, I guess, pulling up.
Okay.
Our father-in-law said, what do you do about something like that?
All right, Dutch, listen, are you watching the show?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to hang up because the line's real bad, but I'm going to answer your question, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right, cheers. All right. So, I know the whole world's going to call. Let's get through Dutch's question here. All right. So, I don't know if you heard that, because that was a brutal line, but I heard the question. So, Dutch, typical person, right? Concrete slab, all right? And he's got tile. You can excuse my drawing. Now, one thing you need to know about tile, especially if it's ceramic, is that the expansion rate on ceramic tile is massive. It's like up to 10% in extreme cold weather. So you got tile and you've got your little cement, you're bonded to the concrete, right? Thin set. What happens with this stuff is it grows and it gets like this big. All right? Now, when you do that and you put it over a huge space, the concrete does not expand. Your house is not growing to accommodate this. And the thin set's job is to bond that to this, okay? I'm going to draw this even bigger so it makes more sense on the camera, Matt. That just seems small. Here's your concrete slab. Here's your tile, okay? Here's your grout joint, and here's your thin set. When this gets really cold, it grows. It gets really big. It's got nowhere to grow. There's grout joints. So what ends up happening is there's upward pressure on this thin set. and the tiles will end up buckling, okay, to make room for the expansion, because the bond on the thin set is less than the strength in the tile. Now, if you're on a slab and you've got tile and your house was frozen for a few days and it did not have a source of heat, this is going to be really popular. Even if it's not that dramatic, I want you to remember that tile can delaminate from your concrete as a result of this storm that's still covered by your insurance if you have insurance for this kind of an event. So, there's one other thing we can do to demonstrate this. Maybe this will make it even better. Matt, can I get you over to the table, buddy? We're going to do that little Schluter thing, okay? Does that make sense? Oh, I've got this all messed up. Can I have those two? All right. Bear with us for a second here, folks, because we're going to do a demonstration on the table. Right up against the edge here. Hopefully this works. We got both of them, Matt? Yep. Okay. Now, what Matt's going to do, I don't know if you can see this on camera, but he's going to be at the edge of the table. And these are fixed. This is a fixed measuring device, okay? And these are cute and whatever. The point is this. Matt is going to hold them at the one end of the table, pressed against the table flush, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to move, and this is a 5-foot table? Yeah?
Yeah.
I think it's 5 feet. Maybe, it's a 6-foot table. I'm going to move this tile. I'm sorry, I'm going to move. We're going to call it tile. Can you maybe back out just a bit? Yeah, let's do this. This is a great example of what kind of damage you might experience. That's probably pretty good. So Matt's going to hold this. He's going to keep it moving. And I'm going to replicate the expansion process of tile. Now, my total measurement here is 71 7/8 of an inch. I'm going to move this measuring stick, just the one, and I'm going to move it 1/8 of an inch. There you go. 1/8 of an inch. Flat, 1/8 of an inch. Now, if you've got ceramic tile and it's not used to cold temperatures and it's installed and it gets subjected to freezing temperatures inside the house for a few days and it lifts like this, it's delaminated from the concrete underneath. The thin set that's there is no longer holding this in bond, okay? Thanks, buddy. Appreciate that.
It's a great.
That'll probably help some folks. Understand this. Your tile it's swelled up. It's delaminated. It's no longer attached to the concrete. Now it's just sitting there. And if you go through the next little while going, well, this is normal, or, oh, thank God it went back, everything's fine, you're wrong. It's delaminated, and you're in a lot of trouble. That computer needs to be plugged in, Matt. I just got a battery running low sign. Gotta love live. All right. Listen, the bottom line is this. If your tile's delaminated, it's an insurance claim, okay? I don't even have any change on me to demonstrate, but listen. If you take a quarter, all right, and you walk around your tile and you tap your tile, it'll sound solid like this. Okay? If it's delaminated, it'll sound like this. All right? It sounds tinny and hollow. And you'll know, whoa, my tile delaminated. All right? Check it out. Make sure you're not a victim, because you don't want to have a year or two go by, have all the grout popping out and all the tiles lifted up and, oh, what happened? Because no one's going to cover you then, all right? So if you think your tile delaminated as a result of the cold weather, you can check it out yourself. It's not hard to tell. You'll be able to walk on it and you'll see it moving, okay? That is part of the insurance claim due to this weather. Do not miss out on your opportunity to protect yourself, all right? Now I'm going to plug the phone back in so we can take some more calls. Sorry if that was rude. I just don't have the technology here to put the system on hold without demonstrating that. But I think that's going to be really cool. All right. I hope that helped, because that's a demonstration. People need to know what to look for, because your claim isn't limited to just your ceiling and your walls. It can be your flooring system as well. Hello, Jeff here. Who am I speaking with?
Hi, Jeff. This is Alicia from Houston, Texas.
Alicia from Houston, Texas. How are you tonight?
I'm doing good.
Well, I said tonight. It's what, 20 after 4 where you're from? It's feeling like night. It's starting to get dark around here. I'm doing well. What can I do to help you out?
So we didn't get affected as severely as some other Texans, but we still are seeing some of the aftermath.
Right.
So I have 2 questions for you.
Shoot.
We did have 2 exterior pipes burst.
Okay.
One for the irrigation system and one for our outdoor kitchen.
So you did have an irrigation system burst. We had someone call about that earlier. And we weren't sure if the frost got bad enough to do that to it or not.
Yeah, we were able to turn that off from the switch, so it's in the off position, but the other pipe burst below the switch.
Okay.
We had to find something to cap it.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Question to you is, if that pops off, what are your thoughts on getting that capped with the unavailability of resources right now? What are your suggestions?
Okay, so you have, I'm going to just draw this out and then I'll share with the folks at home. You've got a house and you're on slab?
Yes.
Okay, and then you've got your ground, right? And you have an irrigation system and the water is coming from, I'm assuming it's coming out of the wall and then down into the ground?
Yes.
Okay. Now, your problem is you've got a shutoff valve somewhere along that system, right? Yeah, I'm going to draw the pipe in red. So how far off the ground is the pipe coming out of the house?
Ooh, maybe 3 feet, 2 or 3 feet.
Okay. And then it goes straight down underneath the ground, right? But there's a shutoff valve somewhere in the middle?
Yes.
And then that is traveling around and bringing water to the different parts of the property. Okay. And so your burst is where? Above the shutoff valve or beneath?
It's in the cap at the top of the pipe. There's like a dome lid.
Coming out of the ground, you mean?
Yes.
Okay, so you've also got a little cap. Okay, got it. And that's where your line is broken. Do you have a shutoff valve on the system coming out of the house?
Yes.
Okay, so this is what we do. All right, now I'm going to pick up the board that I just drew the picture on. Are you watching as well?
Yes, I am.
All right, now there's going to be a time lag, so I apologize for that, but here we go. All right, so here's your house, all right, and typical home, and it's on slab, okay? There's the ground, and the red line is we're going to represent that as copper, but it's not. It's plastic tubing. Now down here, this pipe has a fitting right here. It's called a T-fitting, okay? And the pipe is connected to it on all 3 sides, all right? And it goes up to your sprinkler head that pops up out of the ground and then does its business, right? Okay. If this is frozen here, what you do is you just simply excavate a little bit of dirt, okay? And you can change this fitting. Or you can take the connection ring off of this pipe extension and just replace that up to the fitting again. So your freezing area is right around here. Chances are the rest of the pipe underneath the ground is going to be fine, but you might have freezing and damage at the individual exits. All right? So you'll have to deal with your irrigation guy at some point and have them change, but it's really simple because it's just plastic tubing. And it's just crimp fittings, and they'll be able to manage that without too much difficulty. And they'll be able to probably pop in there and change out like 20 or 30 heads within an hour or 2.
Gotcha, that makes sense. And I do have a second question.
Yeah, shoot.
We have a pool with a filter that we had running for the first 2 days.
Yes.
And when we lost power, we obviously couldn't run the pool filter.
Yes.
So my concern is, like, how do we slowly turn that on to avoid any burst pipes in the pool?
Okay, so the majority of your pool is insulated because all the water is below the ground level. And that huge body of water of the pool is it's insulating itself. Was your pool drained?
No, it was not.
Okay, so then most likely what happened there, and I'm going to just draw this out as well. Now, I can't give you guaranteed advice here, but I'm going to just tell you from a practical what you can look for. Okay, if this is your pool, all right, and your water I have a blue marker here. Hang on one second. And here's your water level. Okay. And here's your ground level, right? I know you're a few seconds behind me. So what happens is the cold air comes and it starts to push a frost line into the ground of about 4 or 5 inches in the time period you're dealing with. Okay. Most of the water supply for the pool is actually much further down the ground than that. All right. So you have this little trap door here for the water and collect all the bugs and stuff, right? And the pipes all run down and then run over somewhere. Now, there's a really good probability here that because the frost line only made it 4 or 5 inches, that your entire system is going to be working just fine because your water is also 4 or 5 inches. Did the water in the pool itself freeze solid?
No, it didn't.
There's your answer.
Okay.
All right.
So we shouldn't have any itch, so we don't have to wait to turn the filter on. It'll probably
As soon as your ground temperature get back to normal, feel free to turn that sucker back on. The worst of this seems to be over. All right. But I would wait until after you go outside and you can shove a pencil into the dirt without any resistance. Just make sure all the frost is out of the ground so everything can function as normal.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Dad.
All right, because you don't want to run a pump filter system and not have water moving. So in case there's water in the line that's frozen, you don't want to have a pump running on air, right? So that's really the best advice I can give is just give it a couple of days, right? Let's make sure the ground is thawed and then everything else will be thawed too.
Okay, thank you so much.
Hey, you're welcome.
Much appreciated.
All right, cheers. Wow, that is actually, see how quick people's focus changes is from well, I don't want a pipe to burst and destroy my home to, okay, so I don't have that problem, but man, I really like my pool to work. I like my irrigation to work, and it makes perfectly good sense. Listen, if you're somebody out there and you got major problems and you're dealing with a disaster in your house, feel free to call us. I'd be more than happy to help you with your, remediation questions. But if you just got homeowner maintenance questions, you got concerns about your house, it doesn't matter how bad a disaster is around you. Everybody cares about their property, and you have a right to care. And I'm happy to help with what information I do have. I'm not an expert in all things, but you know what? I am a Canadian. I understand ice and snow, and I understand cold. So happy to share that with you. All right, here we go. Let's get that back on the charger. We're still doing okay. All right, what time is it, Maddie? 5:30? All right, I'm going to jump into the chat here a little bit. Hey, let's get back to this. Donate to Feeding Texas, folks, because you know what? I know we're taking a lot of calls tonight from folks who haven't been dramatically affected by the storm, but that doesn't mean there aren't some, okay? And you know what? I would feel a lot better if everybody who called didn't know anybody who was dramatically affected. But last night we talked to somebody who lost power, left their home to live with their mom. The water was still on. His pipes are frozen because it's copper. He couldn't even get back to his house because the street was closed. And my heart broke because I know that guy his house is raining, and I hope he's able to get in touch with a neighbor or somebody to turn the water off to the building. But dear God, this is what's going on. I mean, there are people that are hurting. All right, let's. Wow. Yuri says we have water pipes that are broken. Yuri, call me. Talk to me, buddy. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to know what's going on in your world. And maybe I can give you some advice that I can move you from I'm 80 or 100% affected back to a 50. Because wet drywall is just drywall. Still just drywall. Even soaking wet hardwood floors, if you get to deal with it fast enough, you can resave it, right? All these things, everything has a range of there's a frame, there's a time there where you can mediate a problem. You can mitigate it, sorry. And there's a time where you just got to rip it out. Donate to Feeding Texas, folks. Help people out who are suffering. This disaster is brutal. And if it turns out at the end of the day that it was all a farce and Texas is just fine and we donate a bunch of money to Feeding Texas, guess what? All of that money is going to go to people who are still struggling financially as a result of the corona pandemic or because they can't find work or whatever else. So You just can't lose giving to a food bank, right? Like, when is the last time you ever gave money to a food bank and you went away feeling like you got ripped off? Come on, please. Like, just don't be afraid to do that. All right. We don't even touch the money. YouTube has got an amazing system set up. So our fundraising efforts go straight to the organization. Okay. It's perfect. And appreciate everybody who's donated so far. I know it's been going well. Listen, if you like the fact that we're here to help people out, then while you're watching, give us a quick thumbs up. All right. Hit that button. Give us a thumbs up. Let's put this through the roof tonight. Let's take another call. See who's on the line. Hello, Jeff here. What can I do to help you out?
Yes, I got a question for you real quick. I'm here in San Antonio, Texas. First
Yeah.
of all, I want to thank you for your videos because they've actually been able to help me help my neighbors around the house.
That's cool.
The second question is, here in San Antonio, we have our hot water heaters have to be outside. They can't be inside the house.
That's correct. Yeah.
So we have to have them like out in the garage. Well, we have snow. Well, I have a line going from my garage to my house when the snow has melted.
Yes.
I still have hot water, but can that possibly be a problem?
Okay. So here's how we know. Here's the science of a water line. If it breaks, it's really obvious, right? It explodes and it spews water. There is very few precious times when copper will actually expand under the pressure of freezing water and not burst. And if it does that, you'll be able to physically see the huge welt in the copper line. Okay.
Right. Ours is PVC pipe, though.
So you're a CPVC person, right? And
So that's what it is in the house.
yeah. Okay. So you have a little bit more flexibility than copper does there. It's not as good as PEX, but it's a more flexible situation. So
Right. That's what I want to change to.
yeah. So if you've moved on from freezing cold and you have power again and you don't have a burst line, then you're not going to experience a burst line. It's like I'm telling people with plumbing, it's a dramatic event or you're absolutely fine. There's no such thing as like weakening the hull integrity of the ship and now it can't function as normal. I wouldn't go that direction. I would say it either worked or it didn't. Okay, it's a little bit more black and white, and it's easier to understand that way.
Right.
So, you know,
Also, what I appreciate your channel. Like I said, my neighbors are like in their 60s, so they've had a lot of pipe breaks. And
yeah.
through your videos, I've been able to help them.
Well, that's awesome. And make sure your neighbors are like, if you've got a real bad situation, call the insurance company, go on vacation.
They've already done that.
Good for them. Because, like, seriously, you know, I don't know if I've shared this, but I had an experience when maybe I did share it earlier in the video. I answered a restoration call from a flood once, and we walked through the door, and there were black marks from the gurney from the ambulance all over the walls. And the lady had just lost her husband who was desperately trying to fight the flood in his house.
Right.
It ain't worth it.
Yeah, no, it's not. And that's what I try to tell my neighbors next door, because
Yeah.
grown up in Texas. My dad's from Missouri, but
Right.
my said, leave your water running a little bit. It's better to pay $20 in a water bill than $500 in a plumbing bill.
I hear that. You know what? And we were bailing out of 3 feet of snow the other day, and I went out in there and I shoveled. And I took like 3 or 4 trips. I'm 51 and I'm still not dumb enough to do it all in one haul.
Right. No, I'm just turned 60, so
Yeah.
this is the worst I've ever seen it. I have 6-7 inches of snow in my backyard.
Yeah. And you know what? That's a really good opportunity though for folks who, thank you for bringing that up because I forgot to mention, if you've got that going on, you've got to collect this snow. The city water supply is going to be a little bit hampered at best, maybe in some situations. Don't be afraid to throw a bunch of snow in a bathtub and have it available for water to use for your toilet systems, because you might not get full pressure for a couple of days. You might not have the ability to flush a toilet, and you won't find bottled water in the store right now. So, worst case scenario, grab some snow and throw it in a bucket and melt that if you have to for drinking water. But, yeah.
We don't have any kind of food in the stores. Our shelves are bare.
Yeah, well, we're doing our best to try to raise some funds tonight. Help is on the way. I know it's going to be a weird time, but it's not the first storm Texas has seen. It'll follow the same course. It'll be a few days of panic, and then it'll be a few days of relief. And for the most part, everybody will be over the hump within the week, I'm sure.
Right, and that's why, I am thankful for your videos, because I know some things, but your videos has actually helped me to be able to help other people.
Well, my friend, I'm glad to be of help. You know, like what can we do in life other than just do our best and share what we learn and help make other people's lives easier?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, I can't get through to you on the forum. I'm a member, but I use an iPad because I don't have a computer. But for some reason, I can't get through to the forum to communicate with you.
Isn't that interesting?
I'm the one with the problem with the shower floor. I've got it fixed, and then I'm getting ready to put the towel in, and we got 18 degrees.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
I can't put the towel in my bathroom.
No. Well, you know what? We're looking into this issue with the forum and different modes of communication. There might be a hiccup there. Bear with me. I feel bad about that. We're going to be doing another members only session soon. We'll advertise that in advance. Follow up with us again on that one, and I'm going to be taking calls on that show. Okay. So if you continue to have problems, keep sending us messages. So we'll work through it. We'll figure it out because one of these days this forum is going to have to work for everybody all the time, right?
Absolutely, and I love it.
All right.
I love your forum. It helps everybody. It gives. I probably think that even experienced people, it even gives them ideas that they never knew.
So after this call, I'm going to have to disclose to everybody I didn't pay you to call up and say all that.
Well, I'm sorry. It's absolute truth, and I can't stand it when people. I'm carrying on too long. I can't believe people call and criticize you.
I don't know. Does anybody ever do that?
You know what I mean? But it drives me nuts.
Now, don't worry about it. There's a lot of different kinds of people out there going through all their own kind of trouble, and I got big enough shoulders to deal with it. And we'll just keep on doing what we do. And if people get frustrated in the process, I can appreciate that. But it's all right. We'll keep on getting better and better over time, and hopefully one day everybody will be able to forgive us for all of our mistakes along the way.
That's the way life is. We take our ups and downs, right?
That's it. They take it on the chin, and then you keep on fighting. Got to go Rocky style sometimes,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right. Thanks for the call, my friend. We'll talk to you later.
I got one more question real quick.
You know what? Shoot. Go right ahead.
Can I paint over red guard?
Can you paint over red guard?
Right.
Yeah, you can. But to be honest with you, anywhere you got red guard where you're going to paint, it's not necessary.
Okay.
So don't put the red guard there in the first place.
Okay, good. I didn't. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, because red guard really it's a waterproofer, and that means you have a consistent exposure to water. But you don't need it if you don't. And anything higher than 7 feet in a bathroom, if it's going to be a painted surface, a good 100% acrylic water-based bathroom paint will give you more protection than you need for that surface.
Awesome.
All right.
This pandemic's over. I hope to see you in Texas.
One of these days, my friend, we'll be down there. Yeah, because we're going to do some traveling in the South for sure. You will not see me in Canada next winter, God willing.
God willing, right?
All right.
Bless you, and I appreciate your videos. Awesome.
Cheers, man. Appreciate the call. Have yourself a fabulous night. All right. We'll talk to you later.
Hey, you too.
All right. Cheers. There you go. Another happy customer. That's right. And you know what? If you are renovating your house and you're watching the show and you're not a member yet, what the heck are you waiting for? This kind of advice is available for free. You jump on the forum, you ask me a question, I answer it. You go out, you save a bunch of money, you have a successful renovation, you reduce your stress, you save your marriage, you don't kick the dog. Life is good. $5 a month, folks. That's all it takes. And besides, we're doing some stuff in the background. We're going to make our membership so darn valuable. There won't be a person who owns a house in this world who isn't going to want to be a member one of these days soon. And I can't spill the beans until the beans are there to be seen. So we'll tell you soon. But anyway, let's get in the comment section here. We got a few minutes left. I got 20 minutes left on this show, and then I'm going to head home because I have not had dinner yet. I went from drywalling and taping my bedroom to racing over here to do the live show. And I'm hungry like you wouldn't believe. With the help of my sons, I might add. The three of us were working today. It was so nice to be able to work with my kids today. Oh, yeah. All right. Save a dog, become a member. What is that old song I remember? Does it save a horse, ride a cowboy? What was that? Same kind of theme there, isn't it? All right. Oh, I just wanted to do a quick shout out and a cheers to Sandy Rose. One of our esteemed members who has been with our channel, I think since its conception. She may have even had the first comment ever on my first video. I'm not exactly sure. But Sandy, we love you. Thank you for all that you do and for cheering us on. We really appreciate that. Look at her. Join the membership. Hit the join button. This is her. This is the big S. Yeah. The girl's a rock star. All right. Had the pleasure of talking to her on the phone one day. Gotta love this phone. Folks, if you don't have the phone number, it's pinned at the top of the screen. There you go. If you have a question or you want some reassurance or you are afraid of what's going to come down the road or you don't know how to find a contractor or you don't know what to do with all that wet stuff stuck in your ceiling or your house is starting to get moldy and it smells funny. If your house smells like your son's bathroom with all the wet towels laying on the floor, it's called mold. All right? All right. Isn't this guy Canadian? You're damn right I am. I'm proud to be Canadian, but I understand catastrophic loss and insurance and water damage and how to deal with it. So we're here to help out. There's no number on the screen. Arnold, I apologize. I'm looking at it. I can see it. 613-599-9771. Write it down. Whenever we're doing live shows this week, that number is going to work. After we're done that, we will throw that number in the garbage and have Ma Bell bring us a brand new phone number. And so we'll be able to sleep at night. And if you want, join the membership program and get your answers direct from me. Yes, I answer those questions myself. I am not farming it off to some phone center in India. I'm here to help you myself. All right. All right. Canadian or not, he's my brother. All right. Here we go. Let's take a couple more calls before we're done. If you got questions, throw them in the chat. I'll answer them for you. I have got a few minutes here, apparently. All right. Deep Box Games, welcome to the membership program, my friend. Happy to help. I've got, there's a question. Jordan, member in the channel. Can Texans use the insurance money to do the work themselves or do they have to use a contractor? My favorite subject. All right, let's talk about this. What the hell not? We're a little ahead of the game, but you know what? Here's the deal. In the world of insurance, the insurance company has the right and the responsibility to make sure that the claim is satisfied. That's a hell of a word. There's two ways to do it. Now, in every insurance claim, you've got two parts. You've got mediation, the remediation, which is get rid of the crap that happened. And then the other side is the restoration, which is bring it back to its original condition. Now, if your house is a pile of crap when you start, they're going to return it back to that condition. So don't get too excited. But what they do is they have two operating files. One is for the remediation. Let's get rid of the wet stuff, get rid of the insulation. Let's dry it out. Let's make sure that it's back to a healthy, livable condition, prepared to be rebuilt. That file closes. Usually there's a brand new crew involved, okay? And it's restoration time. And they'll have somebody come in, they'll take all the measurements, they'll put a whole program together, 15 sheets of paperwork later, all the measurements, square footage, linear foot, trim, wall, paint, and they give you a price to do that job. And that price is basically predetermined on industry specs in agreement with the insurance company. And they'll put that big portfolio of information together. And here's the secret. The guy that comes out to do the measuring sometimes misses stuff and doesn't put it in the quote. I'm going to get to you in just a second. Hang on 1 second. Hey, it's Jeff here. Give me 2 seconds. I just got to finish my little info. I appreciate your holding. Here's the deal. If they miss stuff, you have the right to say you missed this, add this. Get the quote beefed up as much as you can. Content manipulation is a thing. It's called labor to move stuff around. Storage fees, whatever you can. We'll talk about this in a later video. But yes, the insurance companies almost always offer you 90 cents on the dollar to take the cash and run and do it yourself. You can do the job, take the money, and then take a vacation. God knows we all need one. All right, I'm here. Who am I talking to?
Hi, Jeff. It's Lauren out of San Antonio, Texas. How are you?
Lauren, I'm doing just great. I just told people that they can take the money, fix their house, and then go on vacation. What do you think of that?
I wish.
What's going on with you, Lauren? How are you? What's your situation like?
I'm actually an insurance agent, so I'm having lots of claims down my way, and then I have some issues myself. But I have a large deductible, so I was thinking that I could maybe fix it myself. I have PVC supply water lines.
Yes.
I found 2 leaks in there, and it's like where an elbow bend is. And then
Yeah, so it's the joints of the couplings or the elbows or something, right?
yes,
Yeah.
I saw where you did like the push to connect fittings,
Yes.
but first of all, none of our home supply stores are open right now that I can find. And second of all, I imagine as soon as they open, they're going to be run out of all those push to connects that I need.
You might find that they were bought in advance of the storm by plumbing companies knowing they were going to have a shortage. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything that I can do as an alternate in the meantime, or is that kind of my only option?
So really, when it comes to plumbing and you have a leak, sometimes the best way to deal with a leak is just, and is this in your attic or in your wall or?
My house has a crawl space, and it's actually where the CPVC has come out outside of the house for like a water hose.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So if you have a leak and it's outside the house, and it's like dripping or is it spraying? How bad is the leak?
It's pretty bad. It's
Yeah.
it's where it's on the ground. So I pulled up the vent part, and it was a complete full flow of water. So
Okay. There.
sprung leak.
Yeah. The difficulty here is you've got options. You can get a plumber, get on the list, and they'll come. The other option is you can turn off the water to the house, except for when you need it, and manage the leaking. Okay. The other option.
What I've done so far.
Yeah, right. Like, I mean, just use the key and, yeah, it's a little maddening. But the water quality right now may or may not be all that great anyway. You might be on a boil water advisory.
We are.
Okay, so you're not doing a lot with it other than just facilitating the toilets and that sort of thing, right? I mean, so maybe just managing the water here and there and filling the tub and using pails. Once a day, you turn the water on to refill all that system. It won't be so traumatic until a plumber can get out there.
Mm-hmm.
The CPVC, basically, it's a primer and then a solvent. And so when that expanded too much from the water pressure, it cracked the solvent joint. And so now it's just spraying out, right? The solution to that is actually to either cut it apart and reconnect with new couplings, new fittings, and you have to buy the fittings and the couplings and assemble it again. It's a bit of a Lego. It's not overly complicated. If you have the right primer and a solvent and the right fittings, you can connect it all again yourself. I haven't done a video on that particular plumbing service, but it is just plastic pipe. So it's very similar to working on like drain systems, right? And you can turn the water off and you can cut that with a hacksaw and you can put it all back together again and be very DIY. It's really just measure and cut and glue together, right? So
Would you recommend replacing it with CPVC, or is PEX like way better than that? Is that a...
Yeah, so PEX is definitely a better system. The question is, if your CPVC is through your whole house, right?
It's there's galvanized in some places. There's
right. Okay. So
it's an older home.
Here's the thing: if you're galvanized and then it goes to CPVC, understand that the galvanized pipe has got a thread on it, and it's a standard thread. It has never changed since the beginning of time. And you can actually go out and buy a copper fitting, okay, that you can twist onto that same galvanized thread, and then it has a PEX barb, they call it, or a PEX fitting. And you push the pipe over it, you put on your clamp, you can convert from galvanized to PEX inside the house. It's that simple. There's no special tools required. All you need are the crimpers for the PEX line. So the best thing about plumbing in North America is the same thread size they used when they invented it is the same size we use today. So every material is completely compatible with the next.
Okay, well, let's hope it's that simple, right?
It is that simple. I promise you. Don't be too concerned about it, and then you're going to be just fine. Okay? So you can change it over from your galvanized inside the house and then just go to PEX from there.
I'm thinking that might be the best solution, because if it happened once, it's going to happen again.
There's always a possibility. Now, here's the question for you in the insurance world. I would love to know, in Texas, is it normal for insurance policies to cover this kind of damage?
It depends on your policy.
I
So-
kind of had a sneaky feeling it was that way,
Yes.
right?
So basically, the problem is a lot of policies will cover a busted pipe, but the cause is kind of what's
Yeah. Yeah.
in limbo. So if you were if you were one of the people who was experiencing the rolling blackout and your house didn't have power or heat for days,
Yes.
and because of that, then your pipes froze and busted,
Yes.
that generally is not covered.
Right.
It's called off-premises utility power failure.
Wow. Okay.
Basically,
What if you lost power, period, for 3 days?
yeah, well, if it's from like a downline or something like that, then it could be. But generally, for the most part, if it's because of the rolling blackouts, if they can prove it, then
So right now the process is, my house has got a flood. I call the insurance company and they send out a remediation crew and they do a temporary repair. They might remove some stuff from the house, but the restoration and the final bill all hinges on the quality of your policy.
yep, exactly.
So you might call a crew out who could have 5 guys show up and spend a whole day there and find out you're not covered and then be forced to pay the bill for that service.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's part of your policy too, is for you as a homeowner
To understand where you fit in the grand scheme of things.
as possible. So you
Wow.
won't really know until if it's covered or not until they get out there.
I want to thank you for this call that you have just,
Sure.
you've opened my eyes. I had a sneaky feeling this is the way it was because I understand America to be the land of milk and honey and risk and reward. And almost everything has the right to go to one extreme or the other. And now you've just told me exactly what I thought was the case. So,
Yep.
wow. So we are going to have a certain percentage of the population who couldn't afford a quality policy, who definitely can't afford to get insurance help.
Correct.
Wow.
Yep. I'm seeing lots of claims come my way and lots of questions on the insurance carrier part as to semantics.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get themselves out of the risk of it. So
Can I bother you? Could you email us and get some contact information? I don't want to highlight or risk your job or anything, but I'd love to get a better understanding of what's going on so I can help people properly.
sure.
Okay.
Don't mind.
All right. So if you just email us, we have a business email and it's only for people who want to do business, but it's info@homerenovision.
Info at home, Renovision.
Really?
Got it.
Yeah. I can't do that, Matt. Am I in trouble already?
I'll take the phone so quick and get her number.
All right. I'll tell you what, I'm going to give Matthew the phone and give you that information. All right. Because I didn't spell it all out yet. So I'm not in too much trouble, but
Yeah, there's
all
about
right.
50
Thank you
more.
very much. But after Matthew gives you the information, please get in touch with us so we can get better understanding.
Okay, thanks, Jeff.
Thank you very much. All right. Here you go, Maddie. Finish that call and we'll go from there.
Of course.
All right, folks. You heard it. That lady was working for the insurance agencies. She's in the know. So we're going to get some more information and follow up on that. Let's just break this down. Depending on your insurance coverage, you call an insurance company, they'll respond. They're going to first do the remediation work and then send you the bill if you're not covered. Wow. Breaking news. No wonder so many people have devastating loss and never call their insurance. All right, so we're going to have to do another series. Here's the deal. We are going to have to figure out, hey, I want everybody to call their insurance company and find out if they're covered. Read through your policy. It's going to be brutally important. If you're not covered for the loss and you pay someone to come out and rip out insulation and drywall and put in a fan, you could be in for thousands of dollars. Right? Like, think about it. If you had to save the money and get a lower cost insurance because you're in that financial position where you couldn't afford good quality insurance, how in the world are you going to afford thousands of dollars for them just to tear your house apart? It doesn't change the fact you need to tear your house apart. You still got to get rid of all that water, or it's going to go to mold. And everybody that you love and are trying to take care of for and provide a house for are going to get sick from mold. So here's the problem. Dude, that's brutal.
What's that?
Now, people who can't afford good insurance can't afford proper remediation.
That blew my mind. It's crazy.
I live in Canada, man. We don't have this kind of a problem. I don't want to brag too much about this, but we kind of have like baselines of normality. We don't open up the risk and reward to exploit people of financial condition. The idea of insurance is to share risk, not share risk above your income class. Why the hell would you have insurance if you have to do that? If you're that rich, just pay for it if it happens. But to the idea to say, if you're rich, we'll share your class here. And if you're in the middle, we'll share your class here. And if you're poor, screw you. We have no intention of paying you regardless. That's just nuts. I'm having a bloody rant right now. Folks, if you're in trouble and you need help, I'm going to do a whole series of videos. All right. We're going to show you how to remediate and fix your house. I swear to God, if I have to put a garden hose in my attic and rip my own house apart to show you how to do it, I'll do it. That's nuts.
We just finished it, though.
We just finished the house. I don't want to destroy it. I'm going to destroy part of it, okay? And I'm going to show you what's going on. How's that? I'm going to destroy part of my house just to show you how to fix your own. Because I'm not afraid of a little bit of water. And neither should you be. But you should be bloody afraid of having mold in your house. Okay? Man. Wow, I am absolutely gobsmacked right now.
Let's read some comments.
It's 6 o'clock, 3 minutes left. If you're mad as hell and you don't want to take it anymore, I want to hear about it. Okay, wow. Oh, folks, if you're in that kind of trouble and you don't have insurance coverage, or you're afraid you don't, so you don't want to make the call because you can't afford the trip, you know, you can call. That insurance lady was a perfectly wonderful example of a good human being who's just doing her job. She can take your call. She can find out if you're covered before you go ahead with approving the work. You got a couple of days, not much, but if you take out the wet drywall and wet insulation, all right, you got a couple of days to buy some time to find out if you're eligible for coverage. And note, if you have insurance coverage and you do your own remediation, you can bill the insurance company for your time. Keep track of the hours you put in and you'll get paid for it. Okay? That's how it works up here. I'm assuming it's the same. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I don't live in Texas. Dear God. All right. Matt is highlighting our Chiro's question. I have an old house on concrete posts with steel pipes running underneath. Some froze with Texas storm this week. Yes. Can I repipe the entire house with PEX? What would you recommend? Yes, you can repipe the entire house with PEX. All right. Just go back to the beginning of the system with your steel pipe. That steel thread is compatible with modern day fittings. You can convert to PEX from the closest thing to the ground that comes into the house. It's so easy. For God's sake, just change to PEX. Anybody who's been through this kind of situation, who wants to put in the scale of life, well, what's the quality of the drinking water with PEX? Maybe there's an issue. Maybe I lose a week of my life. We'll say, screw it. I never want to have to go through this hell again. I'll tell you that right now. All right? So just go to PEX. Don't worry about it. Oh, my God. All right. Wow. I'm still freaking out. I'm in shock. I can't believe that you could have insurance to protect your home against a pipe burst. But if it's from a rolling blackout versus this kind of, if the pipe burst, the pipe burst. But the insurance company, they're not there to protect you. They're there to make money, obviously. Man, you know, times like this, you know, we can't judge how we get here. We can't look at policy and institutions and say, this shouldn't have happened. That doesn't help anybody, but you can sure as hell learn from where you are right now and demand change for the future. There is nothing keeping the state of Texas from saying, from now on in, if you're going to provide insurance in my state, you're damn well going to cover people if they have a pipe burst because of an Arctic blast outside of their ability to predict or prevent. That's insane. to give an insurance company a walk away, get out of jail free card because you didn't pay another $1.95 in premiums a month. I mean, shame on you. I mean, holy cow. Yeah, you're going to answer to God one day. I'm telling you right now, that's dangerous. Oh, okay. Somebody discovered my videos last March while in the hospital with COVID. Oh, dear Lord. Kept me sane and made plans for when I got out. You know what? It's like, if I was that picture in your jacket before you jumped out of the plane in World War II, that's cool. I'm happy to help. Have been doing projects to help to get so strong. Okay, dude, that's awesome. You know, like, whatever it takes. I'm glad to help. You know how it is. Hit the like button, folks. There's 511 likes on this video so far. We've been in it for 2 hours. There's still 500 of you watching. I'm going to guarantee we got more than 11 people who left since they hit the like button. Help a brother out. Get the message out. We're here to help people. I can't do it if you don't help us. Help them, help them. In the words of Tom Cruise, help me, help you. Help me, help you. All right? Like, this is how it works. All right. Cheers. Deep Box Games, he's liked it, and he just joined the membership tonight because I pay attention. I'm telling you. I got an eye on the little things. All right. These Canadians are bringing the heat. You know what? It's not about Canadian. It's about right and wrong. And there's a time to save a buck, and there's a time to say, how many people sat down at the kitchen room table, bought house insurance, and were informed of the fact that in the event that something happens and you are wearing the wrong color shoe, you're not insured? Like, that's how stupid this is. Like, I understand. You're going to be on the coast. You're not going to get insurance against a hurricane if you get hurricanes there every day. I understand that. You can buy hurricane insurance maybe. But the idea that if a pipe bursts, you don't have insurance because for some reason the state determined how they were going to deliver power? Wow. Okay. Man, oh man, oh man. Move to Canada, folks. It's a lovely country. It's a little freaking cold in the wintertime, but we won't screw you over. How's that? A little pitch for the government of Canada. Help feed Texas, people. All right. Hit the button. Top right corner of the screen if you're watching, or wherever the hell it is on your device. All right. Join our efforts. We're trying to help people out because apparently there are some people out there who called an insurance company who are about to get a nasty bill who can't afford to feed their family next week because they got to pay their insurance company a couple $1,000 or get a lien on their house so they can't even sell the damn thing. Wreck their credit. Man, when the little guy is down, you sure love to kick him in the teeth, huh? Dear Lord. All right. Channeled my inner Tom Cruise. You can't handle the truth. Welcome to Money in the Bank, Lady D. You're damn right. You know, if you're a member of this channel, you're going to get some damn respect at least anyway. Wow. Oh, I got to try not to get political. Don't get political. It's bad for YouTube to get political. All right. Okay, folks. Listen, the phone is there. It's not ringing. It's 6 o'clock. I think we're done. It's been a lot of fun. We're going to do this again tomorrow, okay, after I calm down. Because tomorrow's a new day. You know what tomorrow is? Tomorrow's the day that you find out whether or not, yeah, you're going to dry your house in time. Tomorrow's the day. If tomorrow you don't have, for every, let's call it every 1,000 square feet of living space, if you don't have 4 fans and 1 dehumidifier in your house and you had a flood, you're screwed and you're not going to dry it out in time to avoid mold. So tomorrow's the day we find out who's screwed and who isn't. I'm going to guarantee you everybody who isn't covered by the insurance is going to be screwed. So if you're in that boat and you need help learning how to remediate your own house, I'm your guy. We're going to walk you through the process, teach you all the steps, step by step by step, how to fix your place up so that you don't end up with toxic mold that kills your family, all right? Because I give a damn. It's just how it happens. It's just how it is. To hell with the blood pressure. Right now, I don't mind boiling. Sometimes you need a good boil, you know? All right. Listen, I'm done. I'm going to go home to bed, maybe have some dinner on the way home. Wow. We raised how much money tonight? Nice.
$1,500.
That's not bad. We are going to add this fundraiser to other videos on our channel. Okay, so don't be surprised if you see it showing up all over the place. Tell your friends and family tomorrow, 3 o'clock, Texas Strong Time, which is 4 o'clock Eastern. Okay, we're going to come back. We're going to give some helpful advice and take phone calls from people who are in the crap, who need some real help. Dear God, just turned out that it's going to be an absolute show, isn't it? Huh? Once again, we have multiple classes of human beings experiencing the same suffering, and we just don't seem to give a damn. Wow. Jeff out.